does grandmother laugh? She's seen evil in the world and snakes in the grass. She's sucked in the water, been cut by the glass. So why does grandmother laugh? At times I get upset when grandmother laughs. I say, how are you so happy even despite your past of protests and sit-ins? That would have driven me mad, but grandmother laughs at everything I ask. It seems like grandmother can smile for days, and when she speaks, she comprises the perfect phrase. I wish like her I was wise for my age, but when I tell her that, she just laughs. She tells me, I fought for my rights when they were being shot down. I learned when to surge forward and when to turn back around. And I've learned to just laugh at whatever people ask. And I learned to do this because I wear the mask. I've had to catch with no pitch. I've had to scratch with no itch. I've had to act like I was fooled when there was no trick. And I had to do this because I wear the mask. I've had to clean the clothes, and I've had to hang the line. I grew the fruit, and I cut the vine, and I did all this work in half the time, and that's when I learned to laugh like I'm fine. The permanent grins and protective lies, it shades our cheeks and it hides our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile, with torn and bleeding hearts, we smile. So grandmother pondered and looked up at the sky, saying, the mask helps you keep your true feelings inside. It helps you get through all the things you despise. It's like a seat warmer on a long, cold ride. So as grandmother smiled, I forced out a tear. I said, I feel safe to be vulnerable now that you're here. I feel the need to cry for your difficult years, but I'll laugh along with you once my tear ducts are clear. I now wear the mask. Passed down from my grandmother to I. If redemption is a journey, I'm along for the ride. To survive, I fully accept I must hide, so I put on my mask with honor and pride. Now, this is no poem for tender eyes. My people were beaten, broken, and tenderized. The only way my grandmother could live was to blend, disguise, smile, and wear the mask. The permanent grins and protective lies, it shades our cheeks and it hides our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile, with torn and bleeding hearts, we smile. Thank you. Now on to the real thing. So my TED Talk today is about how I found my creative voice. And so this is an overview of the story I'm going to take you through. A little video game sort of prezi. So let's start off with who I am. So this is me. Let's pretend that I'm a tan, white, pixelated male right now. I'm obviously not, but just for the sake of this talk. So the first thing I had to do to find my creative voice was take the first step. And this is my first obstacle, pretty much. So to start off the story, I was between 6th and 7th grade, and it was this summer, and I was in Washington, D.C. visiting my friends and family. My dad, my 2 sisters, and my brother all lived in one house together, and I stay with them while I'm there. So during this summer, I was really bored like any typical 6th grader, and I was walking around the house just trying to find something to do. And so one day, I don't even know why, I just decided to walk into my brother's room to see if I could find anything that would spike my interest. And as I walked into the room, there was this blank gold disc on top of records by artists like 50 Cent, Lil Wayne, and Nas, all rappers that I really enjoyed listening to. But instead of picking up one of their discs, I got this disc for some reason. I don't know, I guess it was fate or destiny or something. And this was pre-iPod days, so I got my Walkman out and I put in the disc and I just started to give it a listen, and something eerily familiar struck my ears when I heard it. And it wasn't the instrumentals, it wasn't the beats, but there was just something about it, so I listened to it over and over until I finally put my finger on it. And the thing that was similar was it was my brother's voice on the CD, and he was rapping. And this was the moment where my mind started to click. I said, this top secret document that I somehow found that my brother's been keeping from our whole family is just giving me this huge surge of energy and this huge feeling that I've never felt before. And so like a giddy, younger, annoying brother, I sat in my brother's room waiting for him to get home and just thinking of what I would say when he walked in. Like, would I say, oh my God, like, I love you so much more than I did before? Like, so as he walked in the house, I heard the door downstairs shut, and I heard him walking upstairs, and I was getting really nervous and anxious. And as he walked in the room, all I could do was hold up the disc. And so he looked at me and said, "Oh, you found it, so you know?" And I said, "Yes." I did know, and I was inspired. And this was the first step that I really had to take to find my creative voice. It was this inspiration from my brother, and seeing him accomplish all these things unbeknownst to me. This was the most incredible thing ever to me at the time. And so, having no previous musical experience, I obviously asked him if we could make a song together, because that was the clear next step. And he told me that if I wanted to do a song with him, I had to show that I was talented enough, and I had to prove my skills. So I just started listening to instrumentals and listening to other rappers, and just trying to figure out where I fit in this whole musical situation. And so as I did this, I started making my own songs here and there on GarageBand and just writing over and over until I felt I got things right. And so during the school year of my 7th grade, I felt I was finally ready to, show people my music that I've been working on. And I sent it out to a couple friends. I sent one song out to about 12 people. And this was probably the worst thing that I could have done at the time. Immediately, I just started getting crap from all my friends, apparently, and they were just making fun of my music behind my back and sometimes in front of me, and this was incredibly depressing, obviously. And so at this time, I started doubting myself, and I started to stop making music, and I kind of took a break from sending my things to other people, and I started to really rethink why I was doing it. And so eventually, I had to come to the conclusion that I wasn't going to make music that everyone was going to like all the time. And I wasn't going to do this because other people wanted to hear my music. I was going to do this because I wanted to. And I wanted to make music, and I felt an innate love for it. So once this happened, I kind of started working and remaking music. And I did this for about 2 years. And then in the summer, or right as my freshman year started, that's really when I felt comfortable enough to kind of do my own thing and start making music again. So that's the step that I like to call everyone else. And so once I overcame everyone else and what they thought, it was on to the next thing. Honestly, I thought that maybe everyone else would be the worst thing I had to overcome, but unfortunately this monster who is inside me apparently was even harder for me to overcome. So once I started sending my music out to people after I took a little time off, I really started getting into myself and getting into what I thought my music should sound like. And I really started to get into a groove. I made over 40 songs and 8 poems in the span of a year. And I was really just feeling good about this whole thing. But eventually every now and then I would make that bad project that I personally didn't like. And my first conclusion was, wow, I'm not creative. Wow, I suck at making music. Which is really the opposite way that you want to go. Because once you do that, then you start making this self-depressing stigma inside of yourself, telling yourself that you don't really belong in this music industry, I guess. You don't belong in the world of making music or making creative things. And that is so depressing I can't even verbalize it in this talk. It was just inside of me, the fact that I wasn't good enough for myself. I didn't care about everyone else and what they thought. The fact that I just wasn't good enough to please my own standards was definitely the worst thing that I had to overcome. But eventually I told myself that I obviously wasn't going to make a platinum record every single time I made a song. And I had to be okay with that. I had to accept the fact that I was going to make bad songs, and I was going to make good songs, and I was going to make great songs. And I just had to take the bad songs with a grain of salt, and the good ones and the great ones as a mountain of whatever is opposite of salt. And so as I started doing this, I started to gain my confidence back. I said, okay, maybe I'm not bad at this. Maybe I actually am good at this. Maybe I do have a creative voice. And so eventually, once I proved to myself that I could do this music thing, that's when I overcame the ugly monster of myself. And so that's when I reached the final step of my process, which I like to call my voice, or the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Thank you very much.